So the climbing of the shamans up to the North Pole is the exit way. And this is where all throughout the world, whether you're in Siberia, if you're in Siberia and you're a shaman and you take the mushrooms and you go out of body, the place you're going is the North Pole. Because as they saw the stars circling the North Pole, it's like we're in this big tube. We're like in this vortex, this swirling vortex of stars. The North Star is the exit point. It's like if you look at all these representations on TV of wormholes, going through a wormhole, you can imagine that that would be the direction you'd go because the North Star stays where it is. Everything else circles around it. So the shamans in Siberia, they would take the mushrooms, and their journey would be to climb the world tree or go up the axis mundi, the ladder that we're talking about. The shaman is represented by Cepheus at the top of the ladder, heading towards and coming back from the North Star. So it's very interesting to see we have a correspondence between this ladder and the chimney, and Santa going up and down the chimney. So Santa actually is Cepheus atop the chimney.
Except he's bringing instead of in search of.
Right, well, he's bringing, and that's what they do. The shamans go up to bring back.
Ah.
They climb up the chimney to bring back the knowledge of the gods, and that's the universal theme that happens over and over. Also, if you're in Egypt and you're studying the Egyptian papyri and you're studying what the Egyptians talk about, when the Egyptians would do their holy substance, they would leave their body. When they would go into the heavens, they would go to the North Star. If you're in the Americas, when the American shamans, many of them, leave their body, like the Ojibwe, to go to the heavens, they would go to the North Star. If you're in Maya and you're studying the Mayan glyphs that explain where the shaman goes when he leaves his body, they go to the North Star. If you're a Celt and you're studying old Celtic stuff, if you're studying Druids, the Druids would take the mushrooms which grow below the axis mundi, the holy tree, the Igritsu tree, and they would leave their body and go to the North Star. So this is a universal theme, and this is why Santa Claus lives at the North Pole. And the chariot of Santa Claus, the chariot of Osiris, the chariot of Odin and Wodenaz and Wotan and Thor is the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper is always the chariot of these multiple gods from all over the world. And you can see why Santa Claus would ride his chariot around the North Star. And he could go all the way around in one night, see?
And would you say that the reaction to the North Star being central is that the North Star is on axis with our tilted axis? You'd like, if we're tilted and the North Star is, at that very same oblique angle, pointed out, then we do spiral and it does stay in its permanent place. So even the North Star is a part of our pagan past, or in the idea of us making sense of our environment, seeing that one star is fixed.
Right. See, actually, though, it's not totally fixed.
Okay.
It doesn't move as far as we can see, but it does rotate. If you take the North Star and you draw a small circle from it around the area, going through Cepheus and Draco and all these North Polar Axis stars, because the world tilts, we have what's called the precession of the equinoxes.
Right.
The tilt doesn't stay all the same. It takes 26,000 years for it to make one circle. So the North Star actually moves. It rotates. So even though the position of the North Star is not always exactly the same, it's always this same concept of the leaving the body to go to that area.
Okay, very good.
So, of course, there's different associations according to where the North Star is. Like if we're in Draco, then there would be a whole other different concept of where you go, because you're going into the big serpent. If you're going into Cepheus, you're going into the god of the heavens and the king of the heavens. One more association, while we're talking about some of the astrotheology stuff associated with Christmas,
yes,
is for a lot of times scholars have been debating, and this is a common theme for people to watch and try to figure out what is the Star of Bethlehem, or what was the Star of Bethlehem.
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell you the answer to it right now, and it's really very simple. The Star of Bethlehem is Sirius, and it always has been Sirius, because all these same gods that I'm talking about all over the world all have associations with Sirius, because it's the brightest star also rises in the east on Christmas, exactly in the same spot where the sun comes up. So if you picture the sun rising, there's a spot that's in the stars during Christmas time. Now remember, this moves. This spot rotates, and it doesn't always stay the same. But during Christmas time, the sun is rising in a spot in the stars that's called the stable because of the different animals that are associated with that spot in the star, in the sky. Right above it, in the east, right above the sun directly, is Sirius. Now, directly above that is Orion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we move through the year, Orion turns like in a counterclockwise direction. You can watch it in the stars and in the sky. And if you actually go out while we're talking right now, somebody could go outside and look up in the sky at Orion, because Orion has turned counterclockwise to the point to where the belt of Orion is pointing straight down. It's not at an angle. It's pointing straight down to the horizon. Now, exactly where the belt points straight down to, that's where Sirius will rise. That exact same spot is where the sun will rise. Now, the three stars of the belt of Orion in Oriental astrology are called the Three Kings. Now, do you remember the song, the Christmas carol, that we three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we've traveled afar?
Yes.
The three kings are following the star in the east, which signifies the birth of the Son of God. So the three stars point directly down. Then, as the night goes on, the three stars are pointing directly down at the horizon where Sirius rises. This is the star in the east, which signifies the exact spot of the birth of the sun. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of hard to describe it without having a picture of it.
We'll talk about the significance of the star Sirius.
Well, the significance of the star Sirius is multiple and is very interesting, because it signifies the reflection of the sun. One of the things that it did at this coldest time of the year was it was thought to be a reflection of the sun because the sun rose in exactly the same spot. So if Sirius was there, then it was the signifier that the sun was still coming up. So it points the spot. It reflects where the sun is going to rise.
Interesting.
And so we have reflected also. Remember, I talked about the precession of the equinoxes, right?
Right.
That 26,000-year precession. In the same song, Three Kings, we have the reflection of the precession also, because the song goes, "We three kings of Orient are bearing gifts we've traveled afar." Then there's a part of it that goes, "Field and fountain, moor and mountain." If we look at the spot in the stars where, and this is all going to be in my book, it's in the Mysteries of Christmas book, and it'll all be charted out so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And it's a lot more clear when you do that. But the axis mundi that I talked about, the chimney or the ladder to the North Pole, runs right directly through the ecliptic, and right below the ecliptic in the southern area are these spots: field, fountain, moor, and mountain. All of these points are right down there. So this represents the precession of the equinoxes, and this is why the three kings are thought to follow the star from the east into the west. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at it, actually the three kings are ahead of the star coming up, and the sun is below it. So they appear to be following it to the west, but they're not following it. They're preceding it, right? Mm. So it says, "Westward leading, still preceding," in the Three Kings song. Mm-hmm. And what that's referring to is the precession of the equinoxes. So this song is very revealing when it comes to knowing who the Magi were. Now, another thing about these Magi, they were thought to come from the east. And many of the old representations of the Magi have them wearing a hat that looks just like Santa Claus's hat. Now, this Santa Claus hat is another one of those interesting points.